Let me continue with the sort of introductory remarks and tell you a little bit about the Prison Law Office to start with. We're a nonprofit group of lawyers, and we've been suing the adult prison system in California for close to 30 years. And we sue them over conditions of confinement for prisoners. So our lawsuits have included cases regarding medical care, mental health care, disability discrimination, use of force. We win all these lawsuits. And on good days, I like to believe that we've made significant improvements in the lives of prisoners in California. I'm here today because 5 years ago, we turned our attention at the urging of Sue Burrell, the wonderful Sue Burrell at the Youth Law Center. We turned our attention to the juvenile system. And we did some investigations, and we found that the conditions there were pretty horrific. And as a result, we sued the California Youth Authority filed the lawsuit in January 2002, over every condition of confinement we could think of. And I literally sat and went through the Welfare and Institutions Code and picked out every statute I could find that would apply to them, because we were sure they were in violation of everything, which turned out to be correct. So we sued them over education, over medical care, over mental health care, disability discrimination, gender discrimination, punitive segregation conditions, and maybe most pressing of all, the violence that was endemic to the system and that continues to be endemic to the system to this day. It was that lawsuit filed in 2002 and continuing on that caused, by a variety of procedural maneuverings, the expert reports that Lenore was referring to. We, due to an agreement in the lawsuit, we got experts to come into the system to do investigations, and it's their reports breaking in the media that really helped to get us where we are today, which is in this room talking about restructuring juvenile corrections in California. Last November, the lawsuit settled. We won. We had a press conference with Governor Schwarzenegger in which he announced that we were right, the state was wrong, and he would do what it takes to fix the problem. Okay, so let's start with the basic facts that everybody agrees on. I don't think there's any dispute over the fact that the system is broken, that it needs to be fixed, that kids are hurt by and in the Department of Juvenile Justice, which is what the CYA is now called. And that the governor has committed to fixing it. It doesn't hurt that he's required to do so by court order, but still he has made that commitment to fix it, and that's where we are today. And that's the easy stuff. The question is, as Lenore put it, where do we go from here? Is reform possible, and what does it look like? And what I wanted to talk about today, and it's nice that I get to go first because hopefully I can pull the discussion a slight bit in this direction. I wanted to talk about some of the core issues that are too often left out when we're talking about restructuring juvenile corrections in California. And those 2 points that I want to really emphasize are, one, what are the current conditions? What are the youth living in today, right now? And the second is, what are the political realities that have the potential to undercut any talk of reform? So the first point, how are the kids living now? How can we speak with any moral authority about what goes into creating a truly good system if we don't take some steps to stop the bleeding, to end the horrifying abuses that are going on right now? Here's what's going on right now. Youth in the system are no better off today than they were when we filed our lawsuit in 2002. And when I say that they're no better off, I mean that every day youth are actively being hurt in the Division of Juvenile Justice. There's over 3,000 kids in there, and every day harm is occurring. I've talked to kids, we've been going out into the institutions quite a bit. I've talked to kids who are terrified of just existing in their living units. There are kids in 75-person dorms that often have only 2 staff members on duty at a time, allowing horrifying opportunities for violence, for kids preying on other kids. I've talked to kids who fake mental illness and suicidality to get into the specialized mental health treatment programs that they feel are safer. I've talked to kids who are relieved when they're placed in the special lockup units where they're locked up for 22, 23 hours a day in small, cramped prison cells with no treatment, no education. They're relieved to be there because it's the only place they can have some quiet. It's the only place they can think a little bit and get away from the craziness that exists on a lot of the housing units. The violence continues to be endemic. The education is not there. The treatment is not adequate. And the second core problem that I wanted to talk about that's often overlooked in these discussions is what are the political realities underlying discussion of reform in this situation? Well, the reality is, as everyone here knows, is that Governor Schwarzenegger could pull the plug on all of this tomorrow. Or he could pull the plug halfway and pay lip service to reform while letting all reality go down the drain. The reality is he could fire the current leaders of the DJJ, who I believe are truly working to reform the system. The question is, do they have the resources to do that job? Do they have the job security to make it really happen? The bottom line is that the youth today are living under terrible conditions, and the political realities say that any reform is subject to the whims of the political process. And I'm living in fear of the upcoming re-election campaign of a governor who's very, very low in the polls. So those are the things that we need to keep our eyes on as we talk about restructuring juvenile corrections in California.